Hands Jeff Benedict and my guest Armen Keteyian here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. The new book is Tiger Woods. It is a must-read. Get your hands on it. Read it cover to cover. Tons of stories. I heard Armen say on a previous interview that every page you read, you will find something new that you will be shocked by. And he joins us now to talk a little bit more about the book. Armen, welcome and congratulations on the book. It's great.
Thank you, Mike.
Hey, 400 or more interviews that you talked to people about Tiger. Of those people, who would you say were some of the more interesting people that you were able to track down in Tiger's life? Because the guy is so interesting. Just who are some of these people that you were able to touch base with?
Well, that's a good question. It's one, frankly, I haven't heard yet, which is remarkable. So congratulations on that count. I think it runs the gamut from, some of the, like Alicia Amira, Mark Amira's first wife, who was really a second mother to Tiger, and she's never talked at length about her role and the influence that she had on Tiger. Dina Gravel, who in the wake of Tiger's 2009 crash had about, 15 seconds of fame regarding their high school relationship, but in our book, it's much deeper and it's much richer, and it's kind of this a bit of a Romeo and Juliet thing in terms of how they meet and how they fall in love, and then how it ends. And it's basically broken up by Earl and Tiger's mom, Catilda. John Merchant, who was a sort of unknown but incredibly influential part of Tiger's life during his amateur days, who raised tens of thousands of dollars to help finance Tiger's amateur career in Connecticut, in Fairfield County, where I happen to live. Jim Riswold, who is the creative genius behind the Hello World ads and all the other Tiger ads for Royden and Kennedy, the advertising firm out of Portland, Oregon. Some of the people that worked for Tiger who are, or for Earl, who remain anonymous, but were vital sources in describing what was going on in Tiger's childhood home in Teakwood when Earl was there after he and Tita had separated. There's just a roster of people, even somebody like Mark O'Meara, who's never really talked at length about his relationship with Tiger, and there's just this one really sad kind of scene when Mark gets, he's been inducted to the World Golf Hall of Fame. It's at St. Andrews. Tiger's there playing in the British Open. There's 21 Hall of Famers that go to the ceremony to watch Mark be inducted, but Tiger doesn't show up. And this is somebody who's, Mark's been Tiger's big brother for years and years and years, and they shared a very close, intimate, friendship, but Tiger doesn't show. So for whatever reasons, and I think by the time you get to that point of the book, you understand the reasons. So there's a lot of people, and those 250 people that Jeff and I interviewed from every walk of Tiger's life, there's probably a good third of them that have never talked openly and at length about how their lives intersected. And I just remembered one more who's really good, is Peggy Lewis, who was the Augusta school teacher, where Tiger and the O'Mearas stayed at her home for several years. And through Peggy, you get a very clear-eyed picture of certain aspects of Tiger's personality.
Armen, you mentioned his parents. What kind of impact, positive, negative, did his dad have on his success and ultimately some of his failures?
Well, his dad is a very complicated man, much like Tiger is, as a person. It's a double-edged sword. I mean, Earl had a tremendously positive influence on Tiger's love of the game, his passion for the game, his passion for practice. I mean, he would practice when he was 12, 13, 14 years old. He would practice for 10 hours at a time during the day, and never go out and play, because he loved to practice more than he loved to play. But on the other side, Earl was he had a dark side, and he was a wanton womanizer. He was a bigamist. I mean, he was married to another woman, we discovered, for 3 years before official divorce in California in 1972. He married Tiger's mom in 1969. So even though Earl, in his own infinite way, described it, he said, "I'm not a bigamist." Well, by California and U.S. law, he certainly was. And then just, that whole apple doesn't fall far from the tree syndrome, what Tiger witnessed and how, when he discovered that his father was unfaithful to his mother, how that impacted his life. And, he would call his first true love, Dina Gravel, on the phone. And when he was, they were talking, or at Stanford and other times of his life, and just in high school, and just cry, into the phone, and, so upset about what was happening within his household. So Earl's a very powerful influence, visionary, sage, publicity machine for Tiger. But in the same token, a lot of Tiger's entitlement, his lack of grace towards other people, and lack of appreciation for what others did for him is also part of Earl's personality.
The book is Tiger Woods. Jeff Benedict and my guest Armen Keteyian here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. Armen, he seems like a difficult guy to deal with. Is that the message you got from people? Maybe not difficult, but like robotic or misunderstood. When you dealt with a lot of these people, was that the message that you got?
Well, yeah, that's a creation of a number of things. It's a creation of the programming of his parents, and you have to think of Tiger. And when we did, it's not a big reach to see him as a machine, because he was a machine when he was playing. I mean, his U.S. junior amateur wins 3 in a row, and then 3 in a row as the U.S. amateur champion. He just broke people's will and made shots that nobody had business making in order to break their will. And then you talk about his interactions with people. He was a shy, socially awkward, nerdy kid who was thrust into the vortex of extreme fame and fortune at the age of, pick an age, 18, 19, 20, certainly 21 when he wins the Masters by 12 strokes. And he got overwhelmed by it, and overwhelmed in a way because he wasn't a wholly formed person. He wasn't even human in a lot of ways, because of the way that his parents had coddled him and had him believe that he was so special, that he was the chosen one. And he never had a job. He never took out the trash. He never made his bed. He never did anything that we all did as kids growing up. And he just expected things that were going to be done for him, much as Earl expected things were going to be done for him, because he was the father of Tiger Woods. And that's a warped upbringing. And and then you multiply that by a factor of, I don't even know, 1,000.
Yeah. With
the kind of fame that Tiger experienced. Michael Jackson kind of fame, Michael Jordan fame times 2. There's very Elvis Presley kind of fame. It's just, people make value judgments or personal judgments on how other people should live their lives. And the one thing that Jeff and I did not do in this book is try to inject our moral codes, whatever they may be, onto somebody that was sitting, or was on a rocket ship that was going into the stratosphere, this transcendent kind of star and fame. You just have to follow it. And that's one of I think the real joys of this book is, you're in that seat with Tiger as everything is unfolding in his life. And by the time you get to where we are today, it's definitely a Shakespearean kind of a drama.
Wild. Armen Keteyian, the book is Tiger Woods, spending a couple of minutes here on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline. So at the height of his life, at the height of his popularity and his success, does he recognize that he's on top of the world? He's hanging out with Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley. He's in Vegas. Does he realize that he is the level of
he
celebrity?
He realizes it about, Tiger Mania hits in 97 after the Masters. In that 3-year period, he gets very friendly with Michael Jordan. He becomes very friendly with Charles Barkley. And Charles is a man of the people. He'd think nothing of giving a bellman or a valet or a cocktail waitress a $100 tip. Michael Jordan was at the complete opposite end of that spectrum. He was notoriously cheap, notoriously entitled in Vegas. And, your tip was being able to carry Michael Jordan's bag and to be near Michael Jordan, and that was it. And Tiger learned from Michael. He learned that Vegas was a place where he could have a secret life or a second home that was very private. And we have a chapter called In the Bubble, and that's what it's called in Vegas. When you're in Vegas and you're at the MGM, but you're not at the MGM, you're at the mansion behind the MGM, which is a enclave of it's 29 villas that can run from, 4,000 square feet to 12,000 square feet. And you don't have to leave the mansion in order to have a great time in Vegas. And, you go in by private car, you go up a private elevator, you go to your private suite, you go to a place like Light, which was at the Bellagio, still is, and it was the creme de la creme, the first really high-end bottle service place in Vegas in 2000, and you're treated like a king. Everything and anything you want is at your beck and call. That is a life. I've been in places like that. Whatever minor celebrity I've ever experienced in my life, you can multiply that by 1,000,000, and that's what Tiger Woods was living. And that's just, how do you deal with that? And when you're 22, 3, 4 years old and you're single, it's like, it's Alice in Wonderland kind of stuff. So how does that change as he gets married? Well, frankly, it doesn't change. He's living his way right through all that. Yeah.
Armen, I want to get to, these people that you talked to. I don't know when, how far you started back, but the success he's having now, it seems like he's at least got his life in order. Do people think that he is different or happy or something has changed about him?
Well, I do. And I kind of feel like at this point, Mike, I'm a Tigerologist. I feel like I've been around this guy and lived and breathed his life for the last 3 years. And I saw him, the last time I saw him was at Torrey Pines, late January at the Farmers Insurance Open. And I had observed Tiger many different times over the last 3 years in various kinds of settings. And this was the most open, engaged, appreciative, gracious, human Tiger that I've ever seen. And I think it all stems from last Memorial Day weekend, where he was, picked up with a DUI and, with a rock star cocktail of pain-killing, mood-altering drugs in his system. And if that wasn't rock bottom, it was pretty darn close to it. And he's healthy now physically, but I think emotionally, spiritually, he's in the best place he's ever been. And the book ends this way, and it's a very kind of upbeat ending. Thankfully, he came out of this. And, Jeff and I talked about how we wanted to end the book. And I think right now, whether he wins at the Masters or whether he even makes the cut, in our mind, crawling out of that deep, dark hole he was in and into the light, a changed man, it's the greatest triumph of his career, because a lot of people never make it out of that hole. Michael Jackson, probably number one in that category. So we're rooting for him, like millions of other, sports fans and Americans, because it's a story of redemption. And when you get to the end of it, after everything he's been through, there's a great deal of empathy towards Tiger. And, that's a nice feeling to have, because at times in his life, it's hard to feel empathetic towards him.
Armen Keteyian, everybody. Tiger Woods is the book, co-authored by Jeff Benedict, and you can get your hands on it. I suggest it. Over 400 people talked to. Great story, great book. Thank you, Armen.
My pleasure, Mike. Thank you.